Back again at Jeffrey's Back. Tell a friend. We are back live with the drive at 5 here in the H2 Show studios, and I would like to welcome you back in to hang out with me. I missed you yesterday, but I am back. So today is National Cheddar Day. National Cheddar Day adds some cheesy goodness. Give me 1 second. I got to fix something. Coming at you. As I was saying, National Cheddar Day adds some cheesy goodness on February 13th. If you are going to try to participate, use the hashtag National Cheddar Day to celebrate by showing us your cheesy cheddar creations. All right, you can post those in the comments. You can post them, afterwards on our page or in response to this. We have to celebrate cheddar today. I mean, what would grilled cheese be but buttered bread if not for the meltable slices piled high? Burgers would be lackluster without a perfect ooze, and mac and cheese would be just mac, to be frank. But I'm Jeffrey. So many of our iconic American dishes simply wouldn't be the same without a slice of cheddar deliciousness. There's some history to this love of cheddar as well. How exactly did cheddar become a staple in so many of our favorite foods? Let me tell you. Cheddar first rolled into being in the village of Cheddar in Somerset, England, in the 12th century. While cheddar accounts for more than a third of all the cheese sold in the United States, it is a royal hit in the United Kingdom, where it was created. In fact, more than half of the cheese sales in the UK go to cheddar. So how did it come to be? In 1894, renowned cheesemaker Peter McIntosh brought his cheese-making skills to Tillamook County, Oregon, where it rains a lot and the grass was always green. It's kind of interesting that the grass can always be greener sometimes, apparently in Tillamook, Oregon. He taught the locals all he knew, and in due time, he earned himself the nickname, the Cheese King of the Coast. Today, there are more cows than people in Tillamook, and those local farms have since formed the farmer-owned cooperative we know today as the Tillamook County Creamery Association. And yes, it is the Tillamook you see in the grocery store. No wonder cheddar finds its way into so many recipes or a simple snack. That rich, creamy, and sometimes crumbly flavor is what keeps us coming back for more. Bite after delicious bite. And with that, let's transition to this day in history. In this day in history, today in history in 1575, Henry III was crowned in France. In 1668, Portugal became an independent nation. And in 1880, Thomas Edison discovered the Edison effect. I'll give you more on that later. In 1945, during World War II in Europe, the British and American planes began massive bombing raids on Dresden, Germany. A 4-day firestorm erupted that was visible for 200 miles and engulfed the historic old city. In 2000, the last Peanuts comic strip is published. It was the 17,897th and last installment was published in the newspaper around the world on the following day, the death of its creator, Charles M. Schulz. So, shout out to Charles M. Schulz. Hate that he passed, but gave us a fantastic comic book that led to Charlie Brown. In 2004, the universe's largest known diamond was discovered. BPM 37093 is a white dwarf star about 50 light years from Earth, and is believed that it is believed that its core is primarily made of diamond. It is nicknamed Lucy after the Beatles song "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." For those that don't know, that also has the acronym LSD. Not saying anything. Maybe you're a Beatles fan. Just wanted you to know. Probably already did. And with that, let's transition and let's move on and celebrate some birthdays. Let me join you back in the land of the living. Get rid of the flashback there. Though he passed away in 2023, February 13th is Jerry Springer's birthday. It is also Randy Moss's birthday. So those were the two celebrities I wanted to celebrate from a national celebrity standpoint, but some local celebrities also have a birthday today. Jeremy Williamson, Charlie Causey, Tyler Duffy, and Jason Cole. Happy birthday, y'all. And now let's talk about the Edison effect. So what is the Edison effect? The Edison effect is the observation that electrons can flow from a hot metal surface to a cool metal surface or a cooler metal plate in a vacuum. It's known as, I'm going to get this wrong, but don't judge me, thermionic emission. Thermionic emission. So how was the Edison effect discovered? So Thomas Edison discovered the Edison effect in 1875 while working on the light bulb. It was an incandescent lamp, and he noticed that the metal part inside the bulb caused a flow of current when connected to the positive terminal. So why is it important? The Edison effect is important because it demonstrated as the electrical currents can travel through a vacuum of gas, not just through a wire. And this discovery later led to the invention of the electron tube, which is the basis of modern electronics. So let me get a little more detailed in how it was discovered. So it was discovered by Edison because he was using a bamboo charcoal filament in his incandescent bulb. And when that bamboo charcoal filament would turn on, what would happen is over time, soot would accumulate, the carbon deposits would stick to the outside of the bulb, and he proposed that there might also be a current that is going with those carbon deposits. He proved that he was correct by attaching a third electrode inside the bulb and attached it to an instrument that could measure current. What would happen is that current would then flow from there to the that third electrode and then out to his device and to the positive side of the connection. Sorry. And so the thing is, it did not stop those carbon deposits from sticking to the side of the bulb. And so he abandoned the filament and went on to other things. He did, however, patent the device as he thought there may be future commercial applications. And while he proved himself correct, and the technology is the basis for vacuum tubes and electronics, he didn't understand it that well or how it worked, and he didn't move the technology forward much. So he's rarely given credit for his contributions in the development of electronics. Now, that said, we'll give him a little bit of credit here. So great job, Thomas Edison. You get a little more credit than you deserve maybe in inventing the light bulb. You get a little less credit than you deserve at the discovery of what would be the basis of electronics. So great job. All right, now we'll move on to the national news and talk about an inflation report. So inflation is up 3% over the last 12 months, ended in January, and is up from 2.9% in December. Some highlights here, as you all know, is food at home is up 1.9%, with eggs up, and I have to make sure I got this stat right eventually, but eggs are up 53%. Other condiments are up 10.3%, and uncooked beef roast is up 7.5%. Instant coffee is up 7.1%, bacon up 6%, and then food away from home is up 3.4%. Energy is up 1%, with gas being up 4.9%, that being the major driver of energy being up. All items less food and energy are up 3.3%, and video discs and other media are up 19.6%. A lot of numbers I'm throwing at you. Auto insurance up 11.8%. College textbooks are up 10.7%. So overall, big things that came from a Apple News podcast. Article. And now we'll move to another article I read about how to avoid taxes as you go into retirement. We love this topic because I do know some people that are getting closer to retirement and want to make sure that they're taking all the advice that's out there and maximizing, their savings and how long it lasts. Let's move to the Roth IRA. So this is another Apple News article. So when you look at a Roth IRA, the great part about a Roth IRA is that, obviously according to this Apple News article, you can use the Roth as a tax vehicle to avoid mandatory distributions. So as long as because the Roth is paid an after-tax money, meaning it's growing, you paid the taxes before you made the contributions, you can ultimately avoid having to take mandatory distributions or required mandatory distributions, RMDs. This can be extended by it going to a qualified spouse. So, for example, if you're coming to the end of your life, or you've got money in your 401k, you can do some conversions to roll that into a Roth IRA each year, and by doing so, give yourself the opportunity to extend the time that you're in the market. So you can then leave that to a qualified spouse. The qualified spouse can take that money and roll it into their Roth IRA, and then it will go for as long as they live. And then at such time, that can be given to to your children or whoever you want to inherit your money, a benefactor, and they can keep it in there for up to 10 years. They have to withdraw all of it by the end of 10 years, but then they can withdraw that tax-free. So the point being, the longer you can stay in the market, the better it is for you, because your money gets an opportunity to grow with this tax-advantaged account. So even though you pay taxes on the contributions up front, and the thing is, any future withdrawals you make in retirement aren't taxed as income or aren't taxed by income tax. So pay the taxes up front, unlike a typical 401k, and you can avoid some of these RMDs or required minimum distributions. And this can allow you more years of tax advantage growth. And like we said before, time is your friend when it comes to investing. So if you're ahead of the game, you want to maximize what you leave to your spouse or your children, leveraging a partial conversion of typical 401ks or IRAs can help. And the other cool thing is that if a surviving spouse rolls it to their 401k, they can avoid the RMDs as well. Like I say, those who inherit the money have to empty it over 10 years, but it seems they don't have to pay taxes on those distributions according to this article. With that said, I love avoiding taxes. As we can tell based on the stuff that's coming out of DOGE, whether you like it or you don't, there's a lot of wasteful spending, it seems, in our government. And I'd like that money to stay in your pocket. Just me and you talking here. So with that, I'm going to transition to some other ways for you to keep that money in your pocket on 3 things to do to take advantage of the renter's market. So I was reading an article today, and evidently my notes didn't save, but that's okay. I was reading an article yesterday, and in that article we were talking about there being a renter's market. One second. So in that article, we'll do this the old-fashioned way. In that article, it talked about there being a renter's market. The reason why there's a renter's market is there are a lot of jobs that are coming up and being finished on multifamily. So there was a boom on multifamily right after the post-COVID situation, where commercial real estate in the kind of apartment and townhome multifamily rental business was a boom. The rents were far outweighing what they could make if they were to sell the property, and they were looking at it as just an investment. purely an investment, and that's where the money was going. A lot of those that started in 2021, 2022 are finishing up here in 2020, late 2024, early 2025. And so with the glut of inventory becomes a renter's market. There's more supply than there is demand. With that in mind, it could be a time, if you're renting, to take advantage of the leverage that you may have. You may be able to negotiate with your landlord for one. Can I get a multi-year lease? So looking at that and going, hey, can I get multiple years, lock in my rent over time? You might be able to get a lower rate by doing that because it is very expensive for a landlord to be without a tenant. Some of the things the article suggested you could do was offer to pay a larger security deposit in order to get the advantage of that longer term lease, to look at be flexible about the terms of the lease. Is it 18 months? Is it 24 months, et cetera? So if you're in a situation where you're feeling pretty comfortable where you are and you want to stick around and stay in a multi-year lease, you can certainly do that. You can also always ask for a buyout clause or those sorts of things too, to give you some flexibility, but also the advantage of lowering your payment. When looking at it from a month-over-month perspective, it was down about $8. I think the average rent was around $1,695. That's $1,695, and that was down $8, I believe, from December to January November to December. And a little bit more than that, I think like 1.3% year over year, and somewhere around 2.2 from the all-time high, or 3.2 from the all-time high. I'll post the article if you want to read it. Certainly a good read. The second part was, if you're looking to save to buy a home, if you can get these advantages, meaning you can negotiate a lower rate, what you do is you take that gap that you've now created between what you previously were paying and what you're now paying, and you save that up so that you can get a better down payment. Obviously, the bigger the down payment, the better as far as buying a home. And then the third thing, number 3, is they don't suggest that you move just to get lower rents, but it is suggested that you look at situations where, hey, can I find better employment and rent somewhere? Or if I was already planning on moving, targeting those markets where it has become an advantage of salary versus cost of living. So if you've seen that, it's almost, again, back to arbitrage. Arbitrage is basically I can buy the same thing in 2 places, and I'm going to be able to take advantage of this unbalanced market. For example, my dad used to tell me a story about glass bottles. So one town would pay 10 cents for the glass bottle, another would sell them for a nickel or whatever. So you go by and you collect them, and maybe you pay a guy a nickel and you buy all the glass bottles from him. You could, and you go down and you just by driving to the next town or walking to the next town or going to the next town because your parents happen to go there every week, whatever it was, you take advantage of that arbitrage and the difference in value between the 2 markets. There are people that live on this in their day-to-day business. So you can do the same thing, except it'd be with salary and rent. So if you can find places where the rent hasn't quite caught up to the salary in a location, you can take advantage. Places this has happened is like Austin, Texas. They're seeing a bigger and bigger gap between those 2 things. And because that rent has fallen and the salaries have gradually increased or increased a little faster than the rent, then you're advantaged in that situation. We talked about that same thing with moving to different places. So anyway, the 3 things that suggested again are multi-year lease. That way you can lock in those rates. Second, if you do get a multi-year lease, if you find a way to, and you're trying to save up for a home, then take the savings that you get from that negotiation and start to save that each month. Psychologically, that way you don't spend it too. And then 3, if you are planning on moving, make sure you're paying attention to what markets give you that biggest gap between what you make and what you're paying out. So that is that from a national perspective. And with that, let's go to the Carrollton menu to get a local perspective. All right, this one I am going to have to read because I did not get a chance to go through all the articles yesterday that I wanted us to look at today, but that's okay. we'll try to do it with a little bit of eye contact. So the first thing is, as you all know and have seen, lots and lots of rain. There were flood warnings. There were thunderstorm warnings, depending on what county or what city you were living in here in the South and specifically in Georgia. It was pretty wet yesterday. So keep an eye on any unfamiliar leaks in the house. Make sure you're kind of doing a little walkthrough and you don't have water coming through your roof with the freeze and then it getting a little warm and then it freezing again, then getting a little warm. If you got old boots on your pipes that go on top of your roof, you can get some shrinkage and it cracks and things like that. So just pay attention. It might save you a few bucks if you look up and you see a little yellow spot in the second floor, or if you're in a ranch style home on the first floor, if you go ahead and get that fixed. So better that you catch the problem early. And sorry if I'm the one that helped you catch the problem. All right, and then Tanner has launched first in the region to offer the cutting edge Da Vinci 5 surgical robot. So apparently surgical robotics are big at Tanner, and this new device, I wanted to say it was like 10,000 times greater computing power than its predecessor, the Da Vinci X and the Da Vinci Xi. Seems weird that we would go from X to 5, but maybe they're doing an iPhone thing. Who knows? Very cool though that they've got that launched. And then in CCS, the Carrollton City Schools, Dr. Ann Clifton, the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, is retiring after nearly 3 decades in education, and Dr. Kylie Carroll has been appointed to succeed her, and Courtney Walker has been named the new principal of Carrollton Elementary School. Dr. Ryan McKinnon has been named the future principal of the proposed Carrollton Early Learning School, which is currently in its planning stages. So congratulations, everybody there. All right. That is the local news. And now for my favorite time, the verse of the day. Let's read through that. As we always say, we love you. God loves you. Whether you're a believer or not, we think you can get something from this. So listen, try to take it in, and I'll try to do the same because we're together in our need for education, edification, and ultimately growth. From Hebrews 4:10 in the NIV, for anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from him or from his. So I really need to read the article or the verse before this one to give you the full tell here. But it's pretty obvious that it's saying that even God had to take a break, and it's okay to take a godly rest from time to time in order to and respite from the busyness of life, in order to recharge so that you can get back to being others-centered and mission-focused. That's a very important thing for you to do. You want to live out your life's purpose, and in order to do that, you have to have the energy to do it. So recharge that battery for yourself in order to be able to attack the day. Not just live life, but live life. Get out there, do big things, do hard things, and in some cases do small things. But little is much when God is in it. So what it's saying here, rest so that you can get a restart. It's hard to run the race if you don't have the energy. Well, we have come to the time that we have to go, but we don't say goodbye. We say see you soon. We love you. We want you to do great things. We know you'll do great things because you know how to do hard things. Keep after it. Go win the day. And with that,
at the end of the day, the day got to end.